why don't you tell us how you got started on your instrument?
Well, like most organists, I started playing the piano. I first started taking piano lessons from my mom, Edie Johnson, and my father operated the Pearson Music Company stores in the Greensboro area, and he sold pianos and Rogers electronic organs. So I grew up hearing a lot of piano music and hearing a lot of organs and going to a lot of concerts. I continued studying the piano with Dr. George Kiorpis at UNC Greensboro. And one of my first memories of attending an organ recital is actually at Christ United Methodist Church. My father took me to one of the first dedicatory recitals that I believe was done by David Craighead. And I was very enthralled with the instrument and loved hearing the program. I started taking lessons on the organ when I was 13 from Johnny Bradburn at Christ. So I'm excited to do this concert, and I feel like it's coming back home to my roots.
That's awesome. Is there anything that you can say about this particular organ that feels special to you?
Well, one of my passions is music of the French Romantic era, the symphonic music for organ, and it works fabulously on that instrument. And maybe part of my love for that is that that's the instrument I first started learning on. So also the French classical repertoire sounds great on the instrument, so I'm looking forward to experimenting with that as well.
Awesome. Just for those of us who aren't as familiar, like what composers would those categories be?
Okay, so for French Romantic, it would be Charles-Marie Widor and Louis Vierne. Even earlier than that would be César Franck. And then for the French Classic, you might be familiar with some of the Noëls of Dacan or some of the works of Francois Couperin or Louis Clérambault. And I'm going to play a suite by a lesser-known composer, Jean-Adam Guillain.
Specifically, so can you maybe just start by talking about, pick one of the pieces that you're going to be bringing to us and tell us why you chose to perform it?
Well, originally we were going to do this program in March of 2020. And I had learned the Sixth Symphony of Louis Vierne to celebrate the 150th anniversary of Vierne's birth. Unfortunately, we weren't able to do the concert in March of 2020, but I feel like the piece is going to work so well on the instrument, and I wanted to continue to share it with you. So that's one of the works I'm most excited about. I had studied a couple of the movements in graduate school, and the entire symphony was one of those things that was on my bucket list, that I always wanted to learn to play. So it's going to sound fabulous on the instrument at Christ.
That's awesome. I love the idea of having a musical bucket list. That's cool. Okay, and so then just to kind of maybe dig into that piece a little bit more, could you, for somebody who doesn't know the piece, maybe just talk a little bit about why you love it, or like what to you makes it really special?
This piece has a great variety of emotions in it, but what is so wonderful about it is the way that it's so tightly constructed. Vierne opens the symphony with a theme that he uses throughout the entire work. The work is in 5 movements and lasts about 30 minutes, and this first theme appears in every single movement of the piece, and it comes in a variety of different guises and characters. There's also a second theme that he introduces in the first movement. It's only used in the first, 4th, and 5th movements, but it's a counterfoil to the main theme. But it's extremely tightly constructed, and they're beautiful character pieces.
Nice.
So the theme is introduced in the pedals, and I'm going to play the section where the theme is most clearly introduced, and you'll hear it first in the pedals, and then you'll hear it in the manuals in the treble register.
very, like, there's so many different things happening in there for
It's
just
very heroic. Yeah, it's very intense. And an interesting thing about it, it is a lot of it is based on the interval of a sixth or the distance between six notes. And this is Vierin's Sixth Symphony.
Oh, that's cool. Nice. Okay. Well, that's awesome. Like what kind of emotions or story do you have any kind of like something that you keep in your mind to kind of help you get in the mood with that theme, or what you think he's trying to kind of put across to us as an audience?
So right there, I think the theme is very heroic, and then the second theme is very lyrical, and the second theme is based on all 12 notes of the scale, so it's even more chromatic. But as he goes throughout the symphony, he brings the theme into a beautiful cantabile, andante cantabile in the second movement, and then in the third movement, it's a scherzo, and that's one of Vierin's hallmarks are these scherzo-like pieces that are very light. And I always get a picture in my mind of like fairies out in the forest. But then when he introduces this theme, it's almost like making fun, like a little goblin coming out and blowing a raspberry at all the fairies or something. And then the the fourth movement is very dark and deep and chromatic. And to me, that's a little bit like Vierin's life was. He had a very tragic life, a lot of personal tragedies in terms of his professional career, in terms of having a divorce from his wife and then having two sons who died. And then I think that chromatic, it's very deep and dark. But then the final movement is very bright, and he completely transforms this theme into something brilliant and joyful.
That's so great. That's a great description for us to listen for too, as we're listening to the performance. So that's awesome.